Welcome to the Literally First Class podcast, where I will teach you how to overcome anxiety and achieve somatic success. I'm your host, Carrie Ford. I'm a somatic success and holistic life coach here to bring humor, insight, and wisdom to the modern day woman that wants to feel alive in her daily life. You ready? Come on, I saved you a seat in first class. Hey guys, welcome back to Literally First Class. So we have a little bit of a party going on here in first class, and we have a few friends that have decided to crash this private jet to nowhere. And I'm sorry, but I kind of lied to you, and I said that I wasn't sure I wanted to have guests. And that was true. However, Jake and I decided to come to our cabin out in Idlewild, and we have some very good friends joining us. And so I decided, why the fuck not? Like, why not just hop on the podcast? Let's rip, let's talk, let's chat, and let's just have a party in first class. So I am so excited to introduce you to, and you probably already know them, our surprise guests today, Dr. and Dr. Fraboni.
Oh, geez.
Okay, but for real, you probably know them best as Doc Jen Fit and Dom Fraboni. So welcome, Jen and Dom, two of our very close dear friends who are doing some epic, amazing things in the world of physical therapy, both by way of virtual platforms with your app, Jen Health, and just some cool stuff. So I thought, what better people to bring on other than, of course, Jen and Dom. And I also have Jake here with me, which is exciting.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. So the four of us, we're all entrepreneurs. I'd like to think we're successful entrepreneurs, but
Relatively speaking.
Yeah. This conversation around anxiety and permission to play and taking time off, I think I can kind of speak for all of us, which is it's sometimes hard to take your foot off the gas pedal. So that's what we're going to just jam on today and invite you in to just dialogue with us. So welcome.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here and just be able to chat like we would any other time.
We only fly first class anyway, so it feels natural. It feels natural being here.
Well, and I'm excited to hear from you guys, especially because you both have navigated quite a lot of life circumstances over the past couple of years. Moving, buying a house, obviously getting married. Now you're having your first baby due in January. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
And, on
So
top
exciting.
of all of that, like Carrie said, you're entrepreneurs. And I think oftentimes what we don't talk about is, the behind the scenes, normal everyday life circumstances that do create stress that can inhibit us from having a healthy work-life balance. So I'm really excited to dig in with you guys and hear how you find that balance.
Yeah. Well, here we are at our cabin. And this morning I said to Jen after breakfast, we have a fifth person here in first class. She's actually a dog person. Her name
She
is
might be
Kai.
whining a little bit in the
So you hear her in
background.
the
Yeah.
background.
She's a service dog, so she can be on the plane.
Yeah.
I
love it.
She's allowed. She's allowed here.
Totally. I mean, it's our jet after all. We can invite whoever we want onto it.
Yeah.
But I said to Jen after breakfast, I was like, I feel a little anxiety because it's a Monday and I feel like I should be at my computer even though I desire to be unplugged today. Like to just fully be present with you guys, enjoy this beautiful landscape outside, like the weather, whatever the fuck we want to do. And like we all kind of related to that, like, yeah, I feel a little anxiety too. Like Jake said it to me this morning. I don't know. Do you feel a little bit of anxiety knowing like we're here together, trying to be present, take some time off, and you guys said you're like on the first day of a launch.
I know. I mean, it's the first day of
Yeah.
releasing like our early bird pricing for our challenge. And luckily, I mean, we have an amazing team and we're very grateful. A lot of things are already set into place, but it is how am I showing up today on social media and how am I leaning into this new exciting thing that we're offering. And so, but what I appreciate about, social media in general too, is that my posts like kind of already have that set to go, but my stories are who I am anyways on a day-to-day basis. So I
Like
can,
real time.
Yeah. So I can talk about, I could do mobility in front of the fireplace.
Right.
And be talking about like this new thing that we have coming on and go on a hike and be present, I feel like, in the same day. So I think it is about the setup and approaching it and how I'm just going to be setting up my day to present it in a way that is still authentic. I still get to enjoy my day with you guys, but I'm still also going to be excited and promote what we have going on.
Yeah. And you had even asked me before, just like, oh, so what does launch day normally look like? And it is kind of like, well, most of the prep is done in advance. I mean, other than Jen's mentioning about like showing up in action on stories or different social platforms that we have that we can show up the day of. But really, like, do I want to be on our billing platform seeing how many sales are coming in constantly?
Nope.
Do I want to be like hovering over the customer service emails when we can just trust our customer service rep to be getting back to things? Like, what do I want to put my stress towards, instead of just control the things that I can control in this moment and trust the preparation that we've done and take the opportunity to unplug for a few hours with you guys and not feel that hovering over us.
Yeah. The only thing, like, I check in on our emails and stuff to see, like, is there anything that's coming back of like, I tried purchasing and can't get it, or I like something's bouncing back,
like a broken link issue?
Yeah.
Troubleshooting.
Yeah. If
Well, also
something
with-
wasn't happening, because we have a brand new platform.
With developing your own software, like there's
so much
many
that
random
can
things
go wrong,
on.
and we've experienced this. So it's like those are the things that I'm mainly looking out for, and if I haven't seen that come through, then I don't need to be immediate,
Sure.
to respond to things.
Sure. Well, speaking of, why don't you tell us, because we're kind of dancing around it, why don't you tell us and obviously the listeners what it is that you are actually launching the early bird pricing for?
What
Because
is the
obviously
challenge,
you've been
actually?
working really hard on this initiative for a long time now. You put a lot of heart into it, really excited to launch it out into the world. So give us a pitch.
Yeah. So this is kind of like our release, relieve, and reset challenge, where we're really leaning into what are the things that are going to help to regulate our nervous system again in a place where we can come back to our parasympathetic, turning on our off switch and addressing those underlying tightnesses and restrictions and things that we feel like we need to massage out or break up or, crack into. And it's like, that's not always the thing that's going to help, but actually addressing the root cause and the underlying issue.
Sure.
So, we're really coming back to baseline in this challenge of there's 36 videos over 30 days. And there's
That's a lot. Wow.
a lot are self-assessments.
Great.
So 5 are self-assessments to kind of understand pelvic floor, nerve mobility, joint restriction, stuff like that. So we go and kind of assess the body in a baseline, and then we're leaning into pelvic floor mobility, pelvic floor activation, what that really means, because it's not just Kegels, and and then full body mobility flows and breath work, and then we have bonus classes
this.
for soft
Is it in the-
soft
it's in the
tissue
app?
massage.
Yeah, I mean,
On the platform.
On the platform. On Gen
yeah,
Health.
it's
Yeah.
really
Yep.
the stuff that you can do for 10 to 15 minutes a day that you
Yes.
haven't thought of, but you will feel a difference because it's stuff that I'd say 99% of people don't think of or don't have in their daily routine, their daily movement or exercise routine, that you'll throw this thing in and they'll think, why would I need to do nerve mobility or why would I need to do anything pelvic floor related? But it's really the stuff that we neglect for decades over decades and then might start realize
Until it becomes a problem.
until it becomes a problem.
And
so
it's
kinda
reactive.
bring your
Yes.
awareness around to these things in your body that you probably haven't had a close eye on, that just doing 10 to 15 minutes a day with are really going to help you feel a difference. And all of this is on, kind of like you mentioned, our Gen Health platform, which is something that we just came out with in April. It's our one-stop shop for pain and movement solutions that you can log on, answer a few questions, and be delivered some information and videos that are immediately going to help you address your underlying root cause restrictions rather than giving you something to just cover up symptoms. So we're super excited about the platform overall. And this challenge starts November 1st. But
Amazing.
yeah.
I love that. Well,
So
and
exciting.
I think this is so perfect that we're talking about what we talked about this morning and would love to hear from you guys because so much of what we talk about is anxiety and supporting entrepreneurs and actually having a balanced lifestyle with their work life. And so tell us a little bit about, for the listeners who aren't familiar with the difference between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system and how that impacts our overall health and the proactive nature of your work, which I really, really appreciate because like you mentioned, so often we ignore these things, issues within our body, with our physical health, oftentimes with our mental health as well. And then it's not until decades later that things start to become a problem. And now we're in a position where we have to be reactive, where your work is all about proactiveness and preventing problems before they occur. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think that this is super important, especially in the world of entrepreneurs, because we are people who tend to just pack our schedule. And yes, you're an entrepreneur, but then every entrepreneur has like their rap sheet of commitments, whether that's being a parent, whether that's being a part of some other group, whether that's being a part of some sort of growth group. And so we almost get like stress addicted. We're stress
Normalized
obsessed.
for sure.
Yeah.
It starts, before we even started recording, you almost said like, we use stress to soothe our anxiety.
To keep going.
And that can be totally true because if you feel like you have nothing going on, you can't sit in that stillness. And that I think is a huge factor in constantly living in that sympathetic stress system, which you said, like, how do we define between the sympathetic or the parasympathetic? We have this autonomic nervous system that is a part of our brain that just reacts to all of the stimuli in our environment. And sympathetic means fight or flight. I'm constantly in stress. I'm constantly ready to just go to blows with somebody, whether that be physically or mentally. And then parasympathetic is that rest, digest, relax, recover system that a lot of people will struggle to get into throughout their everyday flow, especially if it's constantly go, 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 go.
Yeah, and most of our world is all stimulation.
I was just about to say, because there
Yeah.
are things that bring us into a parasympathetic state, and then there are things that bring us out of a parasympathetic state into a sympathetic state. So talk a little bit about that as well, because there's obviously things that we can look out for and bring a greater level of conscious awareness to how much we use certain things, indulge in certain activities. So what are those things, or what do you think are the most common things that people
can like identify it?
Yeah.
Because it's really a sneaky thing. For many years, I thought I was motivated, but I was sourcing from like the subconscious lever of having my foot on like the anxiety gas pedal. And I thought this excitement I felt was motivation, but it was actually like fear and anxiety. And that's what kept me going. And then I was like, why am I so tired all the time?
Yeah.
Like for me, that was how it showed up. Or I'd get sick the minute I slowed down.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's conscious habits that have to happen throughout the day in order to be able to turn on your parasympathetic system. Like it's literally your off switch. Right. And so being able to, develop certain practices. So are we reaching for the phone first thing in the morning? Then we're automatically going right into our sympathetic.
Gosh, I'm so guilty of that.
So am I. To be honest, like I can sit here and say this, but 100% I am so guilty of this. It is something that I am consciously aware of all the time.
I'm aware of holding this phone.
Yes,
and I want to keep looking at it.
100%. It's so hard. Because it's like we sometimes relate it to the thing that, it's just soothing and I'm just scrolling Instagram. I'm just,
seemingly harmless.
Just checking through things really quickly. Yeah. It's not anything that's making me stressed. But the moment that we put our vision into something more narrow-based, especially a screen, we automatically lean more into a sympathetic state. And that's where, say we're in front of a computer and we're looking at a computer, this is why your head starts to go forward. It's a natural posture that your body starts to develop because it's very focused in on one thing. And so that's what helps us to kind of like drive in and focus and be in that state. But at the same time, that's where your shoulders usually round forward. Yep. We get into a very, and it's not that posture is bad. It's that we're not teaching our bodies how to break out of that. We're not giving ourselves some parasympathetic signals to say, okay, let me sit back, breathe for a minute, and actually take in my entire environment. Not by looking around, but if I just,
use your peripheral.
Yes. Then I start to be able to tap into my parasympathetic system.
Yeah. I mean, some of the best things that you can do immediately in the morning are get outside, whether that be on a balcony or in your yard, and look at the horizon. Because that is very much so using your peripherals, so you're not focusing in on one immediate thing. And another thing about that focused vision is generally we're looking into a phone that is giving us messages that also act as micro stressors, whether that's notifications for emails popping up, notification from our team saying, hey, I need this or that done, or this isn't working, or, news articles popping up that are going to be some sort of micro stressor for us. So combined with having that focused sympathetic style vision, we're also getting all these micro stressors and messages that are probably going to put us into more of a sympathetic state. So getting out, looking at the horizon, getting sunlight in your eyes, because it's that short wavelength red light that is coming from sunrise that really helps set our circadian clock. It helps our digestive clock. There's so many of these innate evolutionary biological clocks that just by getting early wavelength light into your eyes does for you, along with looking at that panoramic view and using your peripherals helps put you into a parasympathetic state. And then maybe doing some nice long breaths, because breath work is the one voluntary thing that we can access at any time throughout our day that can help us flip our switch per se from that sympathetic system to a more parasympathetic system. So nice long exhales. If you just take 10 breaths with exhales that are longer than the inhales, that's also going to be something that helps drive that parasympathetic state. And I love to say when you set your state in the morning, it's so much easier to clean the slate throughout the day and come back to that initial set point.
Or just nasal breathing throughout the day. Like, I don't think we think about that a lot. And especially if your job is interviews, podcasts, like you're talking to a lot of people, you're coaching a lot of people, you're constantly speaking. Yes, you're constantly breathing out the mouth without even being conscious of it. And a lot of times we're unconsciously having our mouth open and breathing and not going into slow nasal breathing, which helps to stimulate that parasympathetic system and just improve blood flow in general within our body, which if we improve our fluid mechanics within our body, then we don't feel so tight. We don't feel so restricted. We don't feel like we need the constant massage and adjustment and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff, I'm curious about everyone at the table here, what are like the top 2 things that you find you gravitate toward that you enjoy doing to kind of turn on the off? What do you like? What do you guys like to do? For me, meditation has just been the way that I find home. And I know that if I don't do it first thing, I won't do it.
So meditation for me has been key as well. I mean, I started meditating 5 years ago when I was at my last healthcare startup because I had to, just to turn off the monkey brain and, not focus on my endless list of to-dos.
And I think that, one thing that we've mentioned already that's been so powerful for me is that like breath work and being able to use that to just like flip your state. And especially when I do it right in the morning. I remember living in Marina Del Rey.
You guys used to do it weekly on the beach.
To meet up.
Before they closed the beach during COVID.
When one of us would not sleep in. Which was more often than not myself.
Oh wait, who was the one that slept in?
Okay, so we both are guilty.
We both are guilty, but I feel like it was more often than not it was me.
One of us would always get the text like, "Hey man, you coming? Sitting on the beach.
We still on?" It was great because, I got my morning run-in as well. Trying to meet Dom there.
But doing that, and doing it with someone else can be so powerful. Like when you can connect with somebody else in that state, there's that sense of community.
Having accountability.
Connection.
Connection.
Do you and Jen do it together?
Yeah, that's like,
I've seen
that's
some
what we
videos
connected on, I would say, in the very beginning of our relationship. And always like a monthly goal for us. We're going to do 5 minutes, okay?
5 minutes of breath work together.
We've now morning. Committed to like once a week. And can we do that together?
Once a week, we'll take 10 breaths together. The goals get really watered down to set that minimal bar of entry.
So what does that look like? Is it just like you kind of are in the middle of workflow and you're like, I think I need like a fucking reset right now. Like I'm feeling a little anxiety in my body. Like, can we just take a breath or 10 together?
In optimal practice, that's how it might look, like being able to do it during really stressful times. But we do.
We do it in really stressful times, actually. If we get in like a frustrating conversation or we feel like we're not on the same page, especially work. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Especially
it's
going to
happen when you work together. You know?
Yes. Well, then, I particularly hate when we just like leave it in that space. So like, how can we wrap this where we've wrapped the conversation, but we haven't wrapped the energy around it.
Ooh, I like that.
And so one thing that we regularly do together in those situations is begrudgingly
for real though, like
come into each other.
But this is the power of it, because like no matter how like tense you might be going into it and being like, man, I don't fucking want to sit here and breathe for 5 minutes. This is so stupid, like whatever. 5 minutes later, after the breath has been had, you're just like, what were we upset about?
Yeah, like all of a sudden very loving. And
because it really helps you bring you back around to that relaxation side of your brain, rational thinking, and it helps us both understand, like, what are we frustrated about? We're usually not frustrated at each other about anything. It has to do with some sort of...
It's just coming out toward each other about something else.
Yeah, external thing about how the team's operating, a challenge that we've hit, something that has broken in the software, and how we're addressing that. And so
the issue's never the issue.
Totally.
Of course not.
We've done that too. Like in the middle of the day, you'll be like, I feel anxious. Do you feel anxious? I'm like, yeah. And then one of us will say, you want to just do like a mid-afternoon or a random impromptu like breathwork session? Or
walks for us have been big.
Oh,
a good kind of
interrupt. Us too.
Right, taking
like,
a quick walk.
I don't have to sit at my computer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Walks during the middle of the day, meditation in the morning have been huge for us.
Morning and
We've
evening
been doing
walks.
evening walks. Yeah, morning and evening walks.
It's either 7 a.m. before our 8 a.m. meeting or an evening walk as the sun's going down. And then, I mean, that really gets you movement, but it gets you all those positive benefits we talked about previously with like being able to see those panoramic, peripheral views, seeing the horizon. The sun is usually either earlier or later in the day, depending on when you're taking that walk. So
walks have been huge.
So many great things that come along with that.
We also had this, my mentor, Jen, who you know, and Jake, obviously, but she said, why don't you, instead of talking about work on your walk, because like we'll still carry over a conversation on the walk, I wonder while I wander. So the point is, it's kind of pointless, but I'll say, you know what I wonder about you? I wonder, what is your favorite fruit? And I learned it was raspberries, and we never have raspberries in the fridge. And I'm like, what the fuck? How do we not have your favorite fruit in the fridge? Like, I'm just learning this like 2.5 years in.
Huh?
But I mean, it just keeps us from going into the default work conversation, because we can easily talk about that all day. We can easily, even the four of us, talk about business and the email open rate and all the things we were talking about this morning. But can we wander on our walk and wonder about our partner and be like playful and curious? Like, it was so cute. And so we'll consciously try to implement that too.
That's so huge, especially when
we haven't gotten there yet.
Or
failures.
Or at dinner, or at dinner.
Dinner's
like,
a big one too. But then we can use our business card.
There you go. That's true.
Wait,
that's
what
true.
about the business card?
That's
If
true.
we talk about business.
Our business credit card.
Oh, that's true.
eating
This
out,
is a
but
business
that one
dinner in Mexico at Nobu.
Right. I mean, for us, we have the luxury of, having Carrie's kids half the time. And so it just doesn't make sense to talk about work when they're at the table. And we, quite frankly, can't, because getting a word in is difficult. But when they're not there, it's very easy to default to talking about work. And you're like, this is a time where we I don't want to be talking about work.
I need to connect.
Right. I want to connect. I want to enjoy your presence. I want to have a deeper, more personal conversation with you. I want to break free from work.
Yeah.
We kind of do the wonder thing at the table. We just do it differently with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We call it highlight, low light.
It's so funny. My mom
You ever
literally
done that?
did that all growing up.
Oh,
it was
she
always
did?
what's the highlight of your day and what's the biggest challenge of your day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Highlight little.
That was a really cool way of
It's
kind of
such a
like
sweet thing.
filling up family, because I mean I had 2 brothers, so there was 5 of us at the dinner table growing
my
up,
word.
and like by the time all of us went through our highlight and low light, like most people are getting towards the end of their meal and stuff, it generates more meaningful conversation
Sure.
about a challenge that may have come up. You can ask follow-up questions about that specific challenge. So great way to, we got to write this down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we always like think about that too. Of like, okay, we're stepping into a new season of life. Like things have to change. Like we're not going to have, like even like we fall into little habits too recently that has been really not great, where we just will be doing something mindless, or like he's cooking or I'm getting ready and we're just on our phones watching a show.
Putting on
And
some
even
sort of
more disconnected
streaming.
because then we're in our headphones watching a show, like not even, just more disconnected from ourselves. So, I mean, you just can't do that when you have...
And cooking is one of my favorite like meditative things to do.
Same.
Like I'm sure you can
Oh,
nothing
me.
else on,
Yeah,
nothing else
can't
bothers
relate.
Yep.
you and the ingredients, like painting the masterpiece.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that and golf for me lately has been huge because number one, it forces me to get outside.
No.
You know, when you work for yourself and you work from home like we all do, it's very easy, at least it has been for me in the past, where it's like, it's 4 p.m. and I still haven't been outside today. It doesn't happen nearly as much as it once did, but it still happens.
It's huge. Yeah.
Right, where I wake up and, you know, like you mentioned, you're met by fires, emails from team members or, you know, customers, and you're like, oh, I got to address this. And the next thing you know, it's the middle of the afternoon and you haven't been outside yet. So golf forces me to go outside. It forces me to be in nature, which I love. And it forces me to do something that requires full presence. Because if you're not fully present with golf, it's like you can forget about playing well at all. And so it becomes increasingly frustrating very quick. And so it forces you to actually tap into that sympathetic nervous system because you're outside, you're in nature.
Parasympathetic.
Parasympathetic, excuse me. Yep.
We knew it.
Hopefully you're not.
And you're forced to be fully present.
If you're in your sympathetic while golfing, it's probably not a good round of golf.
Yeah, I was about to say
Lots of frustrations
lots of
happening.
stress, lots of frustration.
Like when he flipped over the golf cart.
Lots of swearing. Let's not talk about that.
He sends me a picture. He went golfing. It was like a Sunday. It was kind of rainy. He was on the fence.
I took
Sends me a
the
picture.
golf cart off the cart path.
I was like, did you find a golf cart in the bushes,
Nope.
or did you do that?
Nope, I did that.
Well, that reminds me of like, too, I was like out. I don't know where I was, but I was out. I think I was I don't know where I was. Anyways, I get a text from my husband that is, oh my gosh, babe, you're going to kill me. I almost killed myself. And I'm like, oh, lovely. Your pregnant wife is out.
And you're like, I'm a single mother. I'm already like flashing
yeah,
forward.
exactly. I'm like, this is what I get.
I was texting you, so clearly I was alive well enough to text. Man.
Slightly
what
comforting.
happened?
He flew off his longboard.
Longboarding in California, where there are big hills, is so much different
Especially
than
where we
longboarding
live.
in
Uneven
Minnesota.
sidewalks.
Sure.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Minnesota's
And I
flat.
just-
Right.
long story short, I got going down a hill that our driveway was on, and I'm like, I'm just going to ride this out until I coast and slow down. But the hill keeps getting steeper and steeper.
Oh, no.
And then it goes, and then there's a turn, and I was going so fast, I could not even make the turn.
Couldn't make the turn.
Without, like, hitting a curb. And so I was heading straight towards the curb, and I'm like, I either bail or wait till I hit the curb and then try to roll into the grass. So I bailed while I was still on the street. And I'm pretty proud about how I rolled, and I only had road rash on like 3 spots of my body.
Jake's like, at least I tucked my elbow. Most people would put their arm out to stop the fall, and I didn't have any broken bones.
Didn't hit my hands. I just had little marks on my elbows and shoulder, and of course it was like I get up like, fuck, and look around. Did anybody see that?
But you're like, I'm okay.
I didn't break anything. I didn't hit my head.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So to Jen's point around like watching the show, I call this postured rest with clients. Because it seems like because they're sitting still, they're being still.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not actually rejuvenating or like pouring into themselves with something that feels life-giving. They're like tuned out in a different way. So it's like, are we tuned out or are we tuned in?
Well, another thing I think is super interesting, something I actually have to be aware of myself too. When we're like melted into a couch, sometimes we don't notice we're still holding tension. Like your neck will still be tense. even though you're in like a slumped position. And so like being aware of like, oh my God, I'm not actually even allowing the couch to hold me. I'm still holding myself.
Yep.
Like I'm still creating tension. And that's like the number one thing I've always had to work on with clients is when they come to me, it's not the issue at hand. It's, can you even allow me to pick up your arm without having tension still in it? So many people, they'll be like, yeah, I'm relaxed. And I'm like, okay, but if I let go, your arm is still there, which means you're not relaxed because it would drop to the table.
I'm relaxed, but controlling.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
it's still in control.
We don't realize how much tension we just underlying hold within our bodies, even when we think we're relaxed.
Well, even now, like you say that, immediately I bring awareness to my body and I'm like, ooh, my shoulders are a little bit elevated. Like,
normalize
can
stress.
I just relax into my body?
Yeah. Like, and it's that conscious awareness of when am I catching it throughout the day so that I know the tools. I mean, we know the tools. So many of us know the tools to do. It's just putting that in actual practice. And sometimes it is creating a structured plan. Like I've been following one of my own Gen Health plans and it has been game changer to have consistent mobility, muscle activations, and strength workouts without thinking about it.
That's great. That's great. This is why I love floating. I don't know if you guys have been floating before.
I was scared out of my mind the first time I did it.
Yeah.
Because this is like the ultimate surrender test.
Yeah.
It's like you're letting your arm go to the PT that says they've got
Yes.
you. And you're like, okay, great. And now you're still holding your arm up.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But with your whole body.
But your whole body. And that, I mean, to be fair, we were in a tank that was completely dark.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't in a tank.
It's
with
called
him.
a
I was
sensory
by
deprivation tank
Yeah, I
for
was
a
by
reason.
myself.
Yes, exactly.
And I was like, I don't know where I get this like worst case scenario thing, but I'm like, this will be the one time that there's like a pipe that sucks my hair into it and I get caught and pulled underwater with the drain and I'm like catastrophizing. And I sat outside the tank for 45 minutes in tears, scared to get into the tank, to just get in it.
Wow.
And then I asked myself the question, do I want to do this? And I said, yes, I want to feel free enough from the fear to do it. And then so I knew that my job was then to just face the fear. Because if I didn't want to do it, then full permission to like fucking leave, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like in there taking a nap in his
Meanwhile, I
tank.
couldn't get in there fast enough.
Yeah.
2 hours was the first time though. That's kind of...
Great.
So I
It's
did it for an
crazy.
hour and 15. I did reach surrender.
Yeah.
But it was to arrive there, to allow the surrender and the full like relaxing and letting the water hold me. I was like,
That was
a
like the
process.
first time scuba diving for me.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. One of my greatest fears ever is
Where'd
being
you
in
go
an
scuba
open
diving?
ocean and having a shark just free bait
Where'd you go?
in Bali.
Tasty
Oh,
little
wow.
morsels.
And I decided I was with girlfriends and it was just kind of like a whim thing. And honestly, on the boat ride out, I was fine. And I was like, yeah, we're going to do this. Like, it's all good. And then the minute I went back into the water, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the open ocean. Oh my God. Like the panic to the point where I'm in tears in my goggles.
Oh,
It was so, and then the instructor was amazing though. And she like held my hand and was like, just look down. Just look at what is below us and get a feel and like just see. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't look too deep. It looks like some corals. I can deal with that. I don't see sharks. And she just like really gently like led me until the
like
point that I
co-regulated
could
you, right?
let go of her hand.
Yeah.
Which was, yeah. So I don't know. It felt like a similar experience where it was like facing that fear until the point that I can just like, until we had to go back up. And that was the worst too.
Yeah, I had to like get back in my body.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was witnessing myself and letting the fear just completely take
Oh, yeah.
I'm
over.
about to say, isn't it so funny how much energy we give our fears?
Yeah.
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 I think one of my favorite things to talk about is the concept of like all these things we've been talking about are great, like going on a walk, doing meditation, morning breath work, some sort of morning practice to kind of set that state. But again, it doesn't have to be this hour-long event of being able to separate yourself from the
If
daily
you're on
stress.
Instagram, it does.
True. Yeah, if you're watching somebody's daily Instagram routine, they generally have 7 hours a day that they dedicate to this kind of stuff. But like, again, I think the concept of starting out your day with something that's going to set the state is so powerful because there is research that shows that different meditations or breath work has a 24-hour lasting effect.
Oh, really?
So
I
that's
didn't
a
know
great way to kind of set yourself up for success. But then it might just take 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes throughout the day if you kind of return to some sort of practice, whether that be laying down, doing a few conscious breaths, turning on a 5-minute headspace thing to talk you through some sort of relaxation, going outside and just sitting in your backyard and getting some sun in your
I like
face.
to do that.
Taking 5 minutes to do a quick, brief mobility routine. That's one of my favorite things. Just get on the ground in the middle of the day when I haven't moved a ton, do some upper back rotation, upper back extensions, and then get back to work. Just that little bit, 30 seconds every 30 minutes. I say if you can be operating optimally, taking 30 seconds to a minute every hour to just get out of that daily stress flow, come to some sort of behavior that helps ground you.
Sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, this has been a really awesome conversation. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Let's just, I'd love to know, what first class move are you making this week, each of you?
First class move. You got one? Hopefully on our trip to Nashville, we'll get upgraded to first class.
Yeah, hopefully we'll actually get first class. We're only in Comfort Plus right now.
Jeez, don't sound so pretentious.
Kidding. First class, I would say, is really just, leaning into what we've created for people and allowing them to have the opportunity to see how powerful it could be within the body. It's everything we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So it's sprinkling this in on a day-to-day basis, not taking away from what you're doing, just adding.
Yeah.
And leaning into that opportunity for people is...
Yeah, celebrating this launch is fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many
It's
people
new.
need this.
It's always scary. Oh my God.
Oh, it
are people going to want to... Are
every
people going to
time.
want this?
Sure.
Isn't that weird? It never goes away.
Never.
A decade plus of creating content and launches and challenges, and you always have that little will anyone buy this? Will anyone invest? Will anyone want this?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because you always come in with some sort of expectation. And we were, after creating our own brand new platform, this is the first challenge we've actually done on the new software and platform
so
that we've created.
scary.
So it's scary, especially because we have the expectations, supplanted in our subconscious of this is how well we were doing previously. And now that we've created our own thing, we should do at least that well or better. And that's just not the reality for many different reasons. And I think that's the first class upgrade that I'm going to make is really separating myself from that expectation of hitting this many signups and hitting the, we're setting a new normal here. It's on a new platform. Our economy's in a much different place than it was a year ago or even 6 months ago. So just understanding that there are so many variables that play into how many people are going to sign up for this thing. And the people that do sign up, continuing to show up for them in the best way so that we can make a difference and make a change in their lives and in their understanding of their body and their ability to handle a lot of this constant daily stress that we're talking about. So not going into this launch with expectations, but more so excitement for the people that do sign up and do become a part of the community.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think my first class move this week is really focusing on recalibrating my body and health first. So doing some plyo work here up at the elevation. We've got the hot tub. We've got the infrared sauna. Maybe I'll actually go in the cold plunge since I've never been in it and do a little,
Let's do it.
some fun biohacking stuff. So that's going to be my first class move this week. What about you, babe?
I think mine is taking time to enjoy the environment and give myself permission to, go on hikes or enjoy the amenities here at the cabin because, I know we can all relate to the fact, like Dom, you even mentioned it early on, where it's so easy to, as entrepreneurs, fill our calendars, unconsciously because there's always more work to be done and nothing's ever truly finished. But at what point, right?
Yeah.
At what point do you say, okay, as an entrepreneur, part of the reason I got into this was to be my own boss and to determine my own schedule and to have a greater level of freedom, whether that was financial or, time wise. And so for me, part of undoing the normalized stress that I unconsciously created in my life, for the past 4 years, obviously part of which I'm grateful for because it allowed me to create a lot of my initial success. But now I'm kind of rethinking things, especially after my head injury, around what does work-life balance look like for me? Because it does truly look different for everybody.
And feel like too, like in our body, like, are we doing postured rest? Are we, are we looking like we're present and we're not? We're on our phone, right? Or whatever,
Sure.
right? So yeah, totally.
So
I love that too.
yeah.
Awesome. All right,
Thanks,
guys. Well,
guys.
thanks for tuning in, and thank you for being here, Jen
Thanks
and
for
Dom.
having us.
Thanks for having us.
We're gonna
That
go.
was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I hope you enjoyed your flight, and I'll see you on board again soon. Seriously, though, thanks for listening. If you're ready to take this work deeper and upgrade your mind, I want to invite you to join us inside my Millionaire Mindset program. This is where you'll start using my guided meditations to help you overcome anxiety and experience even more abundance. When you join, you'll have access to my entire audio library. Head over to elevatewithcarrie.com and we'll see you inside.